Oh, look at you. Sitting there as if life is just another ordinary Tuesday. Coffee traffic, half-awake faces. The same predictable little routine you've walked through 1,000 times. But today has a pulse you haven't noticed yet. A secret grin hiding in the shadows of your schedule. Isn't it funny how victory always shows up when you stop expecting it? How life loves to play quiet right before it shouts. People think winning feels loud. They imagine fireworks, applause, trumpets. No. It starts silent. It begins like a flicker in your spine, a whisper in your bones. Something's coming. You can feel it, can't you? The restlessness under your skin, the tiny spark behind your eyes. The world has been poking you, doubting you, stretching you thin, and yet you're still here, a little bruised, maybe, a little tired, but standing, breathing. And that makes you dangerous. Victory arrives when you're no longer chasing it. Funny, isn't it? How life plays its little games. When you're desperate, grasping, clawing at the idea of success, like a starving animal reaching through metal bars, it stays just out of reach, mocking you, teasing you, dancing one step ahead, like it enjoys watching you sweat, cry, break a little each day. You try harder, push harder, scream louder, thinking force alone will open a door that isn't ready to open. And then one day, after all that exhaustion, after all that wrestling with fate, you stop. Not because you gave up, but because you finally understand. You sit still. You breathe. You stop begging the universe like it owes you something. You stop chasing and start becoming. That's the shift, the beautiful, twisted shift. When hunger turns into certainty, when desire turns into inevitability, when you say, fine, don't give it to me. I'll build myself until I don't need to chase anything. It'll come to me. And suddenly, the world listens. Opportunities you used to chase start circling back, like lost dogs remembering their owner. People who ignored you suddenly squint, confused, wondering when you grew that strange, unsettling confidence. You're no longer running, and yet you're moving faster than ever. You're no longer reaching. And somehow everything starts drifting toward you. It's almost cruel how life does that. It waits until you've broken your ego, until your desperation burns to ashes. It waits until you become quiet, grounded, unbothered, because the universe isn't impressed by panic. It doesn't reward begging. It likes strength disguised as calm. It likes warriors who can sit with empty hands and still believe a throne is being carved for them somewhere. Anyone can chase, but only someone who knows can wait, and you learn that. Slowly, painfully, unpredictably, people thought you stopped trying. They assumed you lost momentum, lost passion, maybe even lost hope. They whispered, see. They weren't going to make it anyway. They confused stillness with surrender. They didn't see the gears turning inside you, the way your thoughts sharpened while your actions paused. They didn't notice you were growing roots instead of reaching for branches. They looked at you the way small minds always look at someone who refuses to panic. Confused and slightly threatened. Because you weren't chasing validation anymore. And oh, nothing scares people more than someone who no longer needs applause to breathe. There's a sort of power that appears in your eyes the moment you realize you don't have to run anymore. A quiet power. Not loud, not dramatic, not desperate. The kind that makes people stop mid-sentence when they look at you. The kind that makes them wonder if you know something they don't. And you do, don't you? You know what's coming. You may not know the shape, the time, the details, but you feel it deep in your bones. That victory isn't running away anymore. It's circling. It's approaching. It's preparing to knock. And when it does, you'll open the door like you expected it. Not like you begged for it. That's how life works. It rewards the ones who survive their own impatience. It crowns those who learn to trust timing more than tension. You stopped chasing because you finally understood that real winners don't sprint toward the finish line. They attract the finish line toward them. And while everyone else scrambles in panic, feeling behind, feeling inadequate, feeling desperate to prove something, you sit there, calm, steady, dangerous in your composure, because you don't need to chase what already belongs to you. You just need to rise to the level where it recognizes you. Victory tastes different when it walks to you instead of you crawling toward it. It tastes earned, not gifted. It feels inevitable, not lucky. And deep down, you always knew you weren't losing. You were aligning. You weren't stuck. You were sharpening. You weren't abandoned. You were being prepared. The waiting was never punishment. It was refinement. And now you sit like someone who already won long before the world claps. Because real victory isn't loud. It doesn't start with cheering crowds. It starts with that quiet moment when you stop chasing and whisper to yourself, "It's already mine. It's just on its way." Ordinary days hide extraordinary turning points. Isn't that the twisted little trick life loves to pull? You wake up yawning, rubbing sleep out of your eyes, scrolling through the same boring messages, brushing your teeth like a tired machine. Nothing dramatic, nothing cinematic, no thunder cracking or mysterious voice booming from the heavens. Just another Tuesday, Thursday, whatever day that always felt like background music. And yet, those are the days life chooses to flip the table. Not the birthdays, not the big celebrations, not the moments you wait for with glitter in your eyes. No, it chooses the plain days, the forgettable days, the ones you'd never think twice about. Why? Because surprise tastes sweeter when you're not bracing for it. Think back. Really think. The shifts in your life. The real ones didn't announce themselves with trumpets. They snuck in while you were tying your shoes or washing a plate. The phone call that changed everything came on a day you almost didn't answer. The decision that shaped you happened while everyone else thought nothing was happening at all. The moment you cracked open or grew didn't arrive wrapped in golden light. It came disguised as ordinary. That's the joke. Life hides magic in moments we don't bother to look at. And while everyone waits for the right time and the special moment, the universe chuckles and slips destiny into the everyday people always expect transformation to feel loud, grand, dramatic. They think success walks in wearing glitter and stomping boots. But real change, real breakthrough, it's quiet, almost suspiciously quiet. Like a whisper brushing past your ear when you're too distracted to hear it. Like a seed splitting underground before anyone sees the flower. Life builds its biggest moments the same way morning sneaks in. Slow, gentle. Unnoticed until suddenly, the whole sky is bright. And you didn't even realize when the darkness disappeared. 1 minute you're just existing, and the next moment, without warning, everything feels like it was leading here all along, but here's where it gets interesting. Most people sleepwalk through these days. They drag themselves from task to task, treating their routine like a prison and their hours like a burden. Nothing special ever happens to me. They cry while blindfolding themselves to the door that's cracking open behind them. They want fireworks before they believe. They want confirmation before they try. They want certainty before they move. But life doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards presence, awareness, the ability to recognize tiny sparks before they become roaring flames. Most people wait for the moment to be big before they treat it like it matters. But winners, oh no. Winners treat even the smallest moment with attention. Because they know the small becomes big. When you're not looking, there's a certain thrill in understanding this. A certain quiet power in waking up and thinking, today, this simple day, could be the one everything shifts. Not in a delusional way. Not in a desperate chasing way. In an amused, sharpened, slightly dangerous way. A little smirk under your breath. A little spark in your eye. You move differently when you know life hides gifts in plain sight. You hold your posture like the world owes you a secret. Not entitled, aware, alive. Waiting like a chess player who knows the board always changes, just not when the opponent expects it. And the funny part, when you start expecting the unexpected starts showing up more. Momentum loves confidence. Opportunity loves readiness. Fate loves someone who treats every hour like it might be the hour. People think belief comes after the moment. No, it comes before. The universe doesn't drop miracles into hands that aren't open. It doesn't shout at those who don't listen. It rewards the ones who look closely at life, who don't sleep through their days like sheep herded by routine. It rewards the ones who grin at the quiet and think, anything could happen right now. And if it does, I'll be ready to catch it. So here you are, breathing through another ordinary day. Except it isn't. Not really. You feel something, don't you? That tiny strange hum under your ribcage. That flicker. That restlessness. That whisper you can't explain. The world is pretending it's just a regular day, but you know better. You sense the shift in the air like a storm waiting politely behind the clouds. And that feeling, that electric suspicion, isn't delusion. It's alignment. It's intuition. It's life leaning forward, grinning like it's about to tap you on the shoulder, while everyone else is staring at their feet. Because the biggest wins don't wait for special days. They turn ordinary moments into unforgettable ones when you least expect it. Persistence builds miracles in secret. That's the trick nobody likes to talk about. People adore the highlight reel, the flashy moment someone suddenly wins, the grand reveal where applause erupts and the world pretends it always believed. But persistence, persistence is ugly. Persistence is lonely. Persistence is quiet and gritty and unglamorous, like someone digging through dirt with bleeding fingers while everyone else walks by pretending not to see. You want miracles. They don't show up to loud crowds and dramatic speeches. They grow underground, in silence, in sweat, in those dim hours where nobody cheers and nobody cares think about it. The world claps for the moment you rise, but it never watches the hours you spent crawling. It loves the firework, ignores the spark. It celebrates the victory, forgets the bruises. Persistence isn't poetic. It's stubbornness with a heartbeat. It's waking up on days when hope feels like a joke. It's dragging yourself forward when your emotions are throwing tantrums. It's doing the work when your motivation is face down in the dirt gasping. And oh, how amusing it is that everyone wants success, but nobody wants the repetition, the boredom, the discipline that tastes like metal in your mouth and weighs like concrete on your spine. People think miracles are loud, sudden, magical. Poof, you win. But real miracles, they're made like scars, slowly, deeply, painfully, layer by invisible layer. You don't notice the progress day by day. It's microscopic, humiliatingly slow. You question yourself. You curse the process. You wonder if you're delusional for trying. You bargain with the universe like it owes you something for trying so hard. But persistence isn't about feeling like it's working. It's about continuing even when you're convinced it isn't. That's the punchline. Progress doesn't feel like progress until one day you blink and realize you've become the person you used to fantasize about while wiping tears off your chin. And meanwhile, the watchers, the spectators, whisper, "Why are they still trying? Shouldn't they have results by now? Maybe they're wasting their time." That's the chorus of mediocrity, background noise, cheap commentary from people who quit on themselves and hope you do too, so they feel less guilty. They don't hate your effort. They hate what your effort says about their lack of it. They want proof before they believe. You build the proof, quietly, patiently, like a storm forming far from the shore. Unnoticed until lightning cracks, and suddenly everyone panics, wondering how they miss the warning signs. Persistence isn't loud, because loud things break easily. It's quiet because quiet things last. Quiet builds roots, not just branches. Quiet doesn't chase applause. It creates inevitability. Every tiny step you take while nobody watches piles up. Every tired but still trying. Every not motivated but disciplined. Every failed again but standing again becomes bricks in a foundation too heavy to collapse. Suddenly, you don't need permission to exist. You don't need encouragement to continue. Persistence gives you a spine where others only had wishes. Wishes are lovely, but they evaporate. Persistence digs its teeth in, and refuses to let go. Even when logic begs it to, here's where the miracle part begins. Not at the finish line, no. Miracles begin the moment you keep going after your excuses sound convincing. That's when the universe takes you seriously. That's when fate starts leaning in. You don't get miracles for wanting. You get them for refusing to stop. And then one ordinary day, oh how delicious, the results show up, the breakthrough hits, the momentum explodes. And everyone gasps, where did that come from? You know where? From the nights you didn't quit. The days you kept moving while doubt wrapped its cold fingers around your throat. The mornings you dragged your weary bones off the floor because something in you whispered. Again, they'll call it sudden. They'll call it destiny. They'll call it lucky. Let them. The truth sits quietly in your chest like a secret grin. You earned every inch by surviving the parts nobody applauded. Miracles don't fall from the sky. They rise from the dirt you refuse to stay buried in. And just like that, persistence, the thing everyone mocked, becomes the very thing that builds a life they'll wish they had. The world wants instant magic. You discovered the real trick. Slow, relentless pressure. Silent warfare with your weaknesses. And the unshakable, rebellious decision to keep going, even when the universe pretends not to notice. Because it notices. Just not until you've proven you won't quit when nobody's watching, then one day, you simply stopped caring. Not in a bitter way, not the angry kind of, I don't care. No, you discovered the elegant version, the peaceful indifference, the inner shrug, where their cheers became background noise and their silence didn't sting anymore. You didn't become cold, you became free. You didn't become arrogant, you became sovereign over your own worth. Funny how they always call it arrogance when someone finally stops begging for crumbs of approval. They mistake self-respect for rebellion. Or maybe they know exactly what it is. They just don't like that you outgrew the cage they were comfortable keeping you. And do you remember when you used to rehearse your reactions? Practice being agreeable. Shape yourself to avoid being misunderstood. You twisted and trimmed pieces of yourself to fit their comfort. You swallowed fire to look harmless. You laughed with people who weren't laughing with you, only at you. Not anymore. Now you see the game. Now you understand the trick. Approval was never love. It was a leash. And all it took was one quiet internal decision. I don't need them to clap for me to keep moving. That's when the leash snapped. That's when you stood up straighter. That's when the room started feeling too small for who you were becoming. And oh, the reactions, the subtle panic, the raised eyebrows. Suddenly they're confused. Why are you so distant? Why don't you tell us everything anymore? Why do you seem different? As if confidence is a disease they're trying to diagnose. They poke at your silence like children poking a sleeping animal, nervous it might wake up and bite. Because deep inside, they fear what you already realized. You never needed them. You allowed them. And allowance is power. Now you walk into rooms without shrinking. You make decisions without polling the audience. You don't broadcast your plans like confetti hoping someone applauds. You move in silence, not because you're hiding, but because you don't require witnesses to validate your steps. That terrifies people. Some flee, some cling, some suddenly admire you. Funny, isn't it? The same people who ignored your whisper now chase your calm. The same ones who doubted you now lean in like you hold secrets. Power shifts quietly, and it always starts inside. And it's not that applause is bad. It's simply no longer your fuel. You work because you choose to. You rise because you refuse not to. You speak because your voice belongs to you, not to the crowd. If someone claps, nice. If they don't, you'll build anyway. You'll rise anyway. You'll thrive anyway. And nothing unsettles the world like someone who can't be bribed with praise or destroyed with silence. They can't puppeteer you. They can't seduce you with flattery, shame you with disapproval, manipulate you with attention. You stopped being entertainment and became intention. You stopped needing witnesses and became your own proof. They always say the loud ones are dangerous, but they're wrong. The most dangerous person in the room is the one who smiles quietly, moves deliberately, and knows their value without needing anyone to echo it back. The one who walks like they've already decided they belong. The one who no longer chases affection, validation, or understanding. The one who claps for themselves in empty rooms and keeps building anyway. That's you now. Not loud, not desperate, not waiting to be chosen. You became the one who chooses. And nothing frightens the world more than someone who refuses to be controlled by applause, because applause is the world's easiest leash. And you walked off stage mid-performance with your head high, as if you finally understood the oldest secret they hoped you'd never learn. You never needed the audience to begin with. You ever notice how the ones who carry the most light also seem to walk through the darkest places? The ones who get hit the hardest, misunderstood the most, abandoned the quickest, they're the ones with something different about them, something rare. It's almost like the universe is testing their patience, stripping everything away just to see what's left when the noise fades. That's the sign, not the comfort, not the applause, not the easy path, but the storm that doesn't break you. Because power isn't proven when everything's perfect. It's revealed when nothing is. And if you survived what should have destroyed you, maybe that's not bad luck at all. Maybe that's the proof. You were chosen for something most people couldn't survive. The strongest are tested through isolation, not recognition. Everyone wants to be noticed, praised, celebrated. They crave the spotlight, the noise, the validation that says, you matter. But strength doesn't grow there. It doesn't thrive in applause. Real strength is forged in silence, in the nights when no one's watching, when no one's clapping, when no one even believes in you. That's where the chosen ones are built. In the emptiness that everyone else runs from. Isolation isn't punishment. It's the furnace that burns away the weakness, the fear, the need for approval. You think you've been abandoned, but maybe you've just been separated for preparation. See, when you're chosen for something greater, you can't move like everyone else. You can't stay where it's comfortable. You can't rely on crowds that don't understand your calling. You have to walk through loneliness because that's the only way to meet yourself, the real self, not the version that performs for others. Most people never get that far. They stop at discomfort. They run back to noise because silence terrifies them. They think being alone means being forgotten, but sometimes it means being refined. The quiet places reveal who you are without the mask. When you're isolated, there's no one left to impress. No audience, no validation, no fake support. It's just you and your thoughts, and that's when truth starts speaking. The world calls it loneliness, but it's actually transformation. You start seeing what you've been ignoring. You start hearing what you've been too busy to notice. You start realizing that strength doesn't come from being surrounded. It comes from surviving the silence. You ever notice how people disappear when your life gets heavy? They vanish when you start breaking. That's not coincidence. It's exposure. The moment you stop being useful to their comfort, they show you their true selves. And though it hurts, that's part of the test. You were never meant to carry everyone with you. Some people were only meant to witness your start, not your rise. Isolation clears the room so that when your moment comes, you'll know exactly who deserves a seat. The strongest people don't beg for company. They learn to build peace out of solitude. They don't need a crowd to confirm their worth because they've already met their darkness and made peace with it. That's what scares people about them. Their quiet doesn't come from defeat. It comes from understanding. They've seen too much to be fooled by noise. They've been broken, doubted, humiliated, yet they walk with a calm that can't be shaken. Because when you've survived isolation, you stop depending on recognition to feel alive. Most people think strength is loud. They think it's standing on a stage, shouting confidence, demanding attention, but the real kind is quiet. It's sitting in a dark room with your thoughts and choosing not to quit. It's crying and still getting up the next day. It's being overlooked, forgotten, and still pushing forward like someone's watching. Because someone is. Strength grows when no one sees the effort. It's built in the shadows so that when the light finally hits, it doesn't blind you. There's something sacred about being set apart. It doesn't feel like a blessing when you're in it. It feels unfair. It feels like rejection. But that separation is the sign you're different. You're not supposed to fit in. You're not supposed to move like the rest. The strongest ones are always isolated because if they weren't, they'd never hear the call that's meant only for them. It's in the quiet that they're handed instructions, visions, ideas that wouldn't survive in the noise of the crowd. You have to understand recognition is a distraction. It feeds the ego, not the spirit. The world loves to cheer for those who look strong, but hates the ones who actually are. Because true strength isn't marketable. It's too honest, too raw. It doesn't smile for cameras or care about applause. It exists without needing to be seen. Recognition makes you dependent. Isolation makes you dangerous because once you realize you don't need validation, no one can control you anymore. Isolation tests you. It asks, do you still believe in what you were made for, even when no one else does? And that's the hardest part, believing when it looks like nothing's happening, when every door is closed, when every friend disappears, when every plan fails, and you're left wondering if maybe you got it wrong. But that's the test, not to prove it to the world, but to prove it to yourself. You're being asked to hold faith without evidence, to stand without applause, to trust that the silence is building something unseen. Those who are chosen are always misunderstood. People call them strange, distant, obsessed. They don't understand that separation isn't arrogance, it's necessity. You can't hear destiny in a room full of noise. You can't receive vision while entertaining distractions. The chosen walk alone because they're following whispers others can't hear. The path isn't crowded because it's not meant to be. It's a lonely road, but that's where the strongest are born. Not in comfort, not in fame, not in recognition, but in isolation where their faith becomes louder than the world ever could be. Pain is the proof of purpose, not punishment. That's the part that breaks most people because they think pain means they did something wrong. They think the struggle is a sign of failure when it's really the sign they're being shaped for something bigger. Pain doesn't show up to destroy you. It shows up to reveal you. It strips away comfort, pride, and illusion until all that's left is truth. You can fake confidence, you can fake success, but you can't fake how you handle pain. That's where purpose either dies or is born. People run from pain like it's a curse, but it's really the invitation. Every wound carries a message. Every heartbreak has a blueprint. But most people never stop long enough to read it. They're too busy escaping the feeling to understand what it's trying to build in them. The ones who learn to face it, to sit in it, breathe through it, learn from it, those are the ones who discover who they really are, because you don't meet your strength until pain introduces it to you. You ever notice how the ones with the deepest wisdom always have the most scars? They've seen things, lost things, survived things that should have broken them, and yet they walk differently, not with arrogance, but with understanding. They've been burned, but they still stand near the fire because they know that heat shapes gold. That's what pain does. It refines. It melts away everything that doesn't belong, everything that's weak, everything that's fake. It doesn't ask for your permission. It demands your evolution. The reason most people never find their purpose is because they quit too early. The moment life gets hard, they look for exits. They pray for rescue instead of revelation. But purpose doesn't grow in comfort. It's born in the ache, in the confusion, in the moments that make you question everything. You can't be chosen for something powerful without being broken first. The cracks aren't flaws. They're proof that pressure was applied. And that pressure is the process. Pain changes the way you see the world. It makes you quieter, sharper, more aware. You start seeing through people faster. You stop believing every promise, stop chasing every voice. Pain gives you discernment. It teaches you who's real and who's convenient, who's loyal and who's just around for the good days. It sharpens your eyes so you can see past words into intentions. And once you've seen like that, you can't unsee it. That's why the strong always seem detached. They've already seen what most people are still pretending not to notice. The irony is, the very thing you think is breaking you is what's building you. The pain that makes you cry at night is the same thing preparing you to stand in places others can't handle. You can't speak with power if you've never bled with purpose. People listen to those who've walked through fire, not those who've only studied the flame. Pain gives your words weight. It gives your presence depth. Without it, you'd be shallow noise, another voice pretending to understand struggle. You start realizing pain isn't an enemy. It's a mentor, a brutal, unkind teacher, but one that never lies. It teaches patience when everything inside you wants control. It teaches humility when pride starts whispering lies. It teaches strength when weakness looks easier. And it keeps teaching until you learn, because pain doesn't leave until it finishes its work. You can numb it, run from it, drown it, but it'll keep finding you until you finally listen. People pray for purpose, but reject the pain that comes with it. They want power without process, strength without suffering, wisdom without loss. But it doesn't work like that. You can't hold greatness with untested hands. You have to earn it, bleed for it, cry for it. Every time you think you're falling apart, you're really being rebuilt stronger. Every tear is a testimony in disguise. Every scar is evidence that you've survived something others couldn't. That's not punishment. That's qualification. And if you've noticed, the pain never hits random people. It finds the ones who can carry it, the ones who have the capacity to survive it, learn from it, and turn it into something useful. The ones who are chosen to walk paths most people wouldn't dare step on. That's why your pain feels heavier. It's not because you're cursed. It's because your assignment is heavier. The deeper the pain, the greater the calling. That's why some people crumble under pressure while others rise from it. Pain strips away illusions. It forces you to stop pretending everything's fine. It kills your ego and introduces you to your essence. It reveals the difference between who you thought you were and who you really are. And once you meet that version of yourself, the one that didn't give up, didn't quit, didn't break, you realize pain didn't come to end you. It came to awaken you. Every scream, every sleepless night, every silent battle, it's proof you're not ordinary. Because ordinary people don't get chosen for extraordinary pain. When you understand that, you stop asking, why me? And start saying, try me. You stop seeing pain as punishment and start seeing it as evidence that you're trusted with more, because pain doesn't visit the weak. It seeks the ones strong enough to carry its weight and turn it into power. It's not the mark of failure. It's the sign of purpose. burning quietly beneath the surface, waiting for you to realize that survival was never the goal. Transformation. The chosen feel unseen because their path isn't meant to be crowded. That's the part that hurts the most. The invisibility. You show up, you give everything you have, and the world looks right through you. You scream with your actions, and still no one seems to hear. It feels like no matter what you do, no one notices, no one applauds, no one understands. But maybe that's not a mistake. Maybe that silence is the space being made for something sacred. Because when you're chosen for something greater, you're not supposed to blend in. You're supposed to disappear until the time is right. You ever notice how the ones who make the biggest impact always come from the shadows? They weren't the loudest, they weren't the most popular, but they were the most prepared. They moved quietly while everyone else chased attention. That's the paradox of being chosen. You get hidden, not rejected. The world hides you while you're being built. People forget you while you're being sharpened. And in that hiding, you start thinking you've been left behind, when really you've just been placed somewhere the noise can't reach you. Being unseen isn't a curse. It's a filter. It separates you from what's shallow. It protects you from the wrong eyes, the wrong hands, the wrong energy. Because not everyone deserves to witness your becoming. Some people only come close to study, to compete, to drain. So life blinds them from your path for your own safety. That's why you feel alone. It's not loneliness, it's protection. The chosen are hidden until they're unbreakable. Most people think visibility equals value. They believe if they're not being noticed, they're not doing enough. But recognition isn't the proof of purpose. Obscurity is. Because when no one's watching, your motives get exposed. Are you doing it for applause or for alignment? Are you building because it's in you or because you need validation? The unseen season answers that question. It strips away performance and leaves only passion. You keep showing up, even when it feels like no one cares. That's what proves you're chosen. When you're unseen, doubt becomes your biggest enemy. You start comparing your timeline to everyone else's. You start thinking maybe you missed your chance. You watch people rise who didn't pay the same price, and you wonder why your time hasn't come. But the chosen aren't on the world's clock. Their timing isn't measured in likes or followers or applause. It's measured in readiness. The longer you're hidden, the deeper your roots grow, the stronger your foundation becomes. Because when your moment comes, it won't be a flicker. It'll be an explosion. There's a strange kind of peace that comes once you stop fighting invisibility. When you finally accept that being unseen isn't rejection but redirection, you start breathing differently. You start working in silence without resentment. You start moving with intention, knowing that what's built in private lasts longer than what's performed in public. You start realizing that the silence you once cursed was actually a shield. It kept distractions away. It protected your growth. It kept your purpose pure. But it's hard, isn't it? Watching others get credit for less effort, seeing people rise with shortcuts while you're still climbing in the dark. It feels unfair, and it is. But unfair doesn't mean forgotten. The world rewards noise. Purpose rewards endurance. And that's what separates you from them. They rise fast because their roots are shallow. You've been buried deeper so you can last longer. That's the difference between being visible and being chosen. You can tell who's chosen by how they handle being overlooked. The ordinary crumble under silence. They need recognition to keep going, but the chosen, they keep moving even when no one's clapping. They build in the dark, create in the quiet, and let time speak for them. They don't announce what they're doing because they don't need validation. They're too focused on transformation. They understand that every hidden season has an expiration date. When it's time, no one can ignore what's been growing underground. Being unseen teaches you to trust something bigger than attention. It forces you to believe in your own light, even when no one else sees it. You start realizing that if you were visible too soon, you'd attract the wrong kind of people, the ones who'd praise you publicly but poison you privately. The hiding isn't punishment, it's divine timing, protecting you from exposure before you're ready to handle it. The chosen always carry that silent ache, the feeling of being misunderstood, overlooked, invisible. But that ache is part of the molding. It humbles you. It breaks your ego. It purifies your motives. So that when you finally step into your season, you don't move from pride. You move from purpose. You don't need to prove anything to anyone because you've already been proven in private. And that's why you can't rush the unseen stage. It's doing something to you that the spotlight never could. It's teaching you patience, resilience, authenticity. It's teaching you to rely on faith instead of fame. The unseen season is where your power gathers, where your spirit matures, where your purpose becomes undeniable. Because once the world finally sees you, they won't understand how you got there so strong, so grounded, so unshakable. But you'll know it was all built in the silence they never notice. Power never announces itself with a parade. It walks in quietly. Through pain, through disappointment, through betrayal. The strongest ones were never born from ease. They were sculpted by pressure, by rejection, by long nights filled with silence and unanswered prayers. Everyone wants to be powerful, but no one wants to be broken first. Yet that's how real strength is made. Not in applause, not in comfort, but in the moments when your soul screams for mercy and you keep standing anyway. You see, power isn't what you show the world. It's what you survive when no one's watching. People talk about being chosen, but they forget what that really means. It's not about being picked for comfort. It's about being marked for chaos. You don't get chosen for ease, you get chosen for endurance. Because power and pain are twins, they grow together. Every scar you carry is a signature of the divine, proof that you've been through something that should have destroyed you but didn't. The world doesn't understand that kind of strength. They think survival is luck, but it's not. It's proof that you've been forged differently, that something inside you refused to die when everything else did. Most people break when they're tested. They cry about the storm. They curse the darkness. They run from the fire. But those who are chosen, they don't run. They stand there and burn until they become the fire. They let the pain teach them what peace never could. They learn how to smile in loss, how to breathe in betrayal, how to stay calm while everything crumbles. That's not insanity. That's power. Because once you've walked through hell and didn't lose your mind, nothing on earth can scare you anymore. The funny thing about strength is that it doesn't look like what people expect. It doesn't always roar. Sometimes it looks like getting out of bed when your heart feels like lead. Sometimes it looks like forgiving someone who never said sorry. Sometimes it looks like trusting again after you swore you never would. Power isn't loud. It's quiet, patient, and terrifyingly calm. It's when you stop begging for understanding and start moving with purpose. It's when you realize you don't need validation. You've already been approved by survival itself, and that's what makes the chosen ones dangerous. They've lost everything once, so they've got nothing left to fear. You can't manipulate someone who's been through heartbreak and still found peace. You can't threaten someone who's already faced death in the form of despair. That's what real strength does. It removes your dependence on everything fragile. The chosen walk differently because they've seen what destruction feels like and they've learned how to live beyond it. They know pain, but pain no longer knows them. The world fears people like that, the unbreakable ones, because they don't need attention, they don't need approval, and they don't need control. They move with a sense of certainty that can't be taught, only earned. You can't fake that kind of stillness. It's the kind that comes after you've cried until your body went numb, after you've begged for change that never came, after you stopped waiting for rescue and started rescuing yourself. That's when power becomes natural, when you stop seeking it and start being it. But here's the cruel part. Before power ever lifts you, it breaks you. Before you ever glow, you bleed. Before you ever inspire, you suffer. That's the trade. The divine doesn't trust strength that hasn't been tested. You can't be a light for others if you've never stood in the dark yourself. Every breakdown, every loss, every betrayal, it wasn't random. It was your training. Because no one who's truly powerful got there without being shattered first. The breaking was preparation, not punishment. You'll know you're stepping into power when peace starts replacing your panic, when the same things that used to trigger you no longer do, when you start watching people walk away and feel nothing but gratitude. That's when you realize power isn't control, it's surrender. It's letting go of what's gone and trusting that what's left is enough. It's choosing calm over chaos, wisdom over reaction, faith over fear. That's not weakness, that's strength disguised as stillness. And the ones who understand this don't chase anything anymore, they attract. Because true power doesn't compete, it commands. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't demand, it embodies. The chosen carry an energy that shifts rooms before they speak. You can feel it, the quiet confidence of someone who's seen too much to be impressed by anything temporary. They've met pain and shook its hand. They've looked fear in the eye and smiled. That's why nothing surprises them anymore. They've already danced with the worst and walked away whole. So when life starts breaking you, remember, that's not the end. That's the evidence. The storm isn't there to destroy you, it's there to expose you, to show you what's been hiding inside you all along. The pressure isn't punishment, it's proof, because only those who've been shattered beyond repair learn how to rebuild differently. Only they learn the kind of power that doesn't fade when the applause stops. Only they understand what it means to rise, not for show, but because staying down was never an option. Power isn't loud, it's hidden. It's not the ones shouting their strength that have it. It's the ones who walk through chaos with a calm so heavy it scares people. Everyone wants to look powerful, but only a few have the guts to live it. The real kind of power doesn't come from ease or privilege. It's carved into your bones through pain, through patience, through the quiet moments when no one claps, no one helps, and you still keep going. That's the kind of power that can't be taken because it was never given. It was earned, painfully, piece by piece. Endurance doesn't come from books or speeches. It comes from surviving things that should have destroyed you. It comes from walking through storms without knowing if you'll ever see the sun again. It's funny how people think power is in how hard you can hit, but it's really in how much you can take and still keep standing. That's endurance, not the kind you pretend for attention, but the kind that bleeds, the kind that hurts, the kind that makes you question everything and still makes you get up the next day. You see, there's a quiet kind of madness in those who've suffered long and still smile. The world calls it resilience, but it's more than that. It's rebellion. It's defiance against the pain that tried to bury you. It's laughing in the face of loss. It's refusing to let despair write your story. Endurance is ugly. It's sleepless nights, swollen eyes, shaking hands, and still showing up. It's doing the right thing when it's killing you inside. It's the art of holding on when letting go would be so much easier. Most people quit before they ever touch their real power because they don't like the process. They want strength without struggle, victory without wounds, success without silence. But endurance doesn't work like that. You have to stay in the fight long enough to earn your transformation. You have to sit in the discomfort until it stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like purpose. That's when the shift happens. Not when you're happy, but when you're broken and still willing to believe there's more. And the world won't understand that kind of endurance. They'll think you're cold, they'll call you detached, but really you've just seen too much to be fooled by small storms. You've felt pain that rewired your heart. You've learned that peace is expensive, and not everyone can afford it. That's why the chosen ones carry themselves differently. They're not arrogant, they're grounded. They don't panic because they've learned what panic costs. They don't chase because they've learned what waiting builds. That's the quiet power of endurance. It teaches you what matters and strips away everything that doesn't. There's a point you reach when pain stops scaring you. When you've endured so much that fear becomes small, that's when you realize that everything that tried to destroy you only built your capacity to carry more. That's why endurance and power are the same thing. One is the process, the other is the result. Every heartbreak strengthened your heart. Every betrayal sharpened your discernment. Every loss made your soul heavier, yes, but also deeper. You can't fake that kind of strength. You can't teach it either. You live it. And those who endure don't just survive, they evolve. They stop being controlled by circumstance. They stop begging life to be fair. They understand that the world owes them nothing, and still they give everything. They stop trying to change the storm and learn how to walk through it. They stop waiting for perfect conditions and start creating in the ruins. That's real endurance. It's creative. It's relentless. It's alive. It's refusing to die where you fell. It's whispering, "Not yet," when everything around you says it's over. You ever notice how those who've endured the most are the calmest people in the room? That's because endurance teaches you patience. It slows you down, humbles you, refines you. When you've been through hell, you don't need to prove anything anymore. You've already fought the hardest battle, yourself. You've already faced the silence where no one believed in you. You've already seen your plans crumble and had to build new ones from ashes. You stopped chasing validation because your scars became your credentials. And maybe that's the irony of it all. The most powerful people don't even look powerful anymore. They're just still. They're at peace. Because endurance breaks the ego and replaces it with wisdom. It kills the need to be seen and replaces it with the desire to understand. When you've endured enough, you stop trying to control life. You let it unfold. You stop reacting and start observing. You stop running and start walking with intention. That's when power becomes permanent. The ones who endure are the ones who lead, not because they want to, but because they've been forced to grow in the dark. They don't crave the spotlight. They've lived too long in shadows to care about light. What they carry is different. It's not pride, it's presence. The kind that can't be shaken by chaos or noise, because they've already survived the collapse once, and now they know no matter what falls apart, they'll rebuild again. Endurance gave them that certainty, and that certainty, that's what makes them unbreakable.